saved for the last 6,000 years. Now, it is directed against Satan's organization naturally. It is truth against lies. It is righteousness against unrighteousness. It is good against evil. Now, naturally, the first ones that are affected are the Lord's people. They get the information first. They understand it first. In fact, they are the ones who begin to preach it. So the very first ones to be affected are those who are in Israel, because these are beginning to blossom out with the message and are affected with the understanding. This means that if Yahweh commands certain things that must be done, all Israel must do it. If Israel does not do it, they are not measuring up, they are not learning fast enough, they do not show the proper heart's devotion to Yahweh. So Yahweh corrects his own house first. And then with the message we find that people begin to understand and come in and partake of the blessings of Israel and become Israel. So the Lord's house is the one that's affected first. The message goes on and continues to denounce wickedness and evil and unrighteousness, and exposes and makes a separation between all wrongdoers and all those who would obey Yahweh. This plague, or these 7 last plagues, begins with a testimony of the 2 witnesses. It gives the understanding of Yahweh's entire plan. It pronounces the day of judgment and doom upon the nations and the wicked of this world. It makes everything, as Nixon would say, perfectly clear. In other words, there will be no room or no reason not to understand if people have ears, like Yahweh says. He who has ears, let him hear. All right. Now, after these messages, this 15th chapter of Revelation does jump around, and it just brings out that the messages or the plagues are going to be poured out. After this is over, he says, and I saw that were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten a victory over the beast and over his image and over his mark and over the number of his name stand on the sea of glass having the harps of God. Okay? Now Yahweh describes the restless masses of humanity as the sea. He says the wicked are as the restless sea. He says concerning his kingdom that there will be no more sea. He says that there will be a new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. What he's saying here, that there will be, righteousness will prevail, and the restless masses of humanity, or the restless sea, will go out of existence, or anything that causes the restlessness of the ignorant masses of humanity in this present age. Now, seeing a sea of glass mingled with fire, glass is very similar to water. It's transparent, but glass is not moving. It's not in motion. It's very smooth and still. This indicates that the characteristics of restlessness that prevail in the literal sea, which is a symbol of the restless masses of humanity, will no longer be in existence after this message is finished, after the wrath of God has been poured out and after all has been accomplished. Now, Revelation 4:6. says, and before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal, and in the midst of the throne and round about the throne were four beasts full of eyes before and behind. All right, now this is before the throne, or in front of the throne. It means to face the throne, indicating that Yahweh's gaze would be directed toward the sea of glass, meaning that he would turn his face toward his people and deal with them and bring this peace that he has promised. Now, these who enjoy these blessings are the ones who have gotten the victory over the beast. Who is the beast? Satan's organization. Yahweh describes the devil's organization as a beast. And truly, that's exactly what it is. It's an unreasonable, cruel, and selfish organization, like any wild beast. Over his image, this is what he sets up in the last days. Over his mark, the 666, and over the number of his name. Okay. Now these are the ones that stand on a sea of glass, having harps of God. This means they have overcome everything that the devil is able to confront them with. They have overcome everything. These are the ones that had gotten the victory over all the power and deceit and the guile that the devil has been able to throw at them. These they are able to do only by gaining the understanding of the truth. In this manner they would see what is right and they would understand what is wrong. And if their heart is right, they are able to make a decision and direct their hearts toward righteousness and please Yahweh and gain his blessing. Now, they have the harps of God, indicating that they have Yahweh's instrument. They're playing his music or his song, indicating that they are doing his will from now on. And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. Now the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb is Yahshua. Yahweh's plan began with Moses. He led the children of Israel out of Egypt. He gave them the law. He showed them what he wished his people would do. He directed their attention toward his desires. He wanted full obedience. He wanted perfection. Of course, this was not in the power, we might say, of imperfect people to attain to. And Yahweh, knowing the end from the beginning, he made other preparations. So it began with Moses, and the plan ended with Yahshua. In other words, Yahshua is the foundation of the fulfillment of the entire plan of Yahweh. Now, Galatians 3:24 has this to say, 23 and 24. But before faith came, we were kept under the law, shut up unto the faith which should afterwards be revealed. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ, that we might be justified by faith. Okay, it's all part of Yahweh's divine plan. And through the law, through his dealings with Israel, he showed them what his will was. There are other scriptures I'm going to read also which will lend support to this. Matthew 5:17. Yahshua himself said, think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Okay, and then Romans 10:4. says, "For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to every one that believeth." Okay. So Yahweh used the Israel of old as types and examples of greater things to come, and these all led us to Yahshua, who is the foundation of the new system of Yahweh's kingdom, and he will actually bring into fulfillment the will of Yahweh and the desires of the heart of all righteous individuals. Who shall not fear thee, O Lord God, O Lord, and glorify thy name? For thou only art holy. For all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest. All right, now the people of understanding realize that Yahweh is not only supreme, but he proves his supremacy. The devil, with all his wisdom and beauty and guile, comes to a disastrous defeat. His organization collapses of its own, proving conclusively that it cannot stand, that the devil is a complete failure, even though he's tried everything, even though Yahweh allowed him to have all of the power, all of the wealth on earth, all of the money, and he has his stooges and directs them to do whatever he wishes. Still, he comes to a horrible end. And the righteous people understand this, and they will fear and honor and love, obey Yahweh throughout eternity. And after that I looked, and behold, the temple of the tabernacle of the testimony in heaven was opened. All right, now this is a fresh phase or a new stage of the vision. The temple of the tabernacle, or the tent of witness, Rabaham, or what he's bringing out is the evidence of Yahweh, the evidence that Yahweh is present and dealing. When the temple is opened, they were able to see evidence that Yahweh is with his people. And the 7 angels came out of the temple having the 7 plagues, clothed in pure and white linen. All right, now, the white linen indicates the righteousness of the saints. This means that the messengers were pure and holy and devoted to righteousness entirely, doing the will of Yahweh explicitly, having their breasts girded with golden girdles or belts, which is the clearer translation. This means that the gold is pure and precious. The heart is a seat of motivation. The belt around the heart makes it a breastplate of righteousness, or something that is precious. In other words, the devotion, the motivation of the heart is pure and holy and righteous. This is the case with all of Yahweh's servants, whether they are spiritual or physical. And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 angels 7 golden vials full of the wrath of God, who liveth forever and ever. Now the 4 beasts, or the 4 living creatures, represent the attributes of Yahweh: love, justice, wisdom, and power. We have one of the creatures had the head of a man, one the head of a lion, one the head of an eagle, and one an ox. These represent love, justice, wisdom, and power. Okay, now one of them gave the angels the 7 golden vials full of the wrath of God. All right, now one of them giving him doesn't mean that it was just a message of love or just justice or wisdom or power alone, but the 4 were together, and it was only one of the 4 who handed it to him, indicating that all of the attributes of Yahweh were represented, because one of the 4 just handed it to him. They were always together. They were never apart. And the temple was filled with smoke. from the glory of God and from his power, and no man was able to enter into the temple till the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were fulfilled. All right, now, Exodus 19, 17, and 18 gives us an indication of what the smoke is. Then Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet God. They took their stand at the foot of the mountain. As the trumpet blast grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God answered him. Then the Eternal descended on the mountain of Sinai to the top of the mountain, and the mountain of Sinai was all wrapped in smoke as the Eternal descended in fire upon it. The smoke rose like steam from a kiln, so all the people trembled. Terrible. Okay, this would indicate, the smoke would indicate Yahweh's presence. Then we have Isaiah 4:5, chapter 4, verse 5, which states, "Then will the Lord create over the whole site of Mount Zion," this is his capital organization, "and over her assemblies, or those who assemble under her, that's us, a cloud of smoke by day, and a glow of flaming fire by night." Now this is the way he led the children of Israel out of Egypt. Smoke by day and fire by night. Well, here the smoke again represents Yahweh's presence. And this indicates that Yahweh will be present when Israel is speaking the message of Yahweh's wrath and giving it to all who would hear and to all who will not hear. They will be forced to hear, giving it to all. Yahweh is backing his people. All right. The temple was filled with smoke from the glory of God and from his power, and no man was able to enter the temple till the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were fulfilled. Okay, now when the mountain was covered with smoke, the people were commanded not to even get near the mountain, not to touch it, because it was holy. And likewise, the temple, no one is able to enter into it because Yahweh's presence is there. Now he says in Exodus 19:12, I believe it is, "And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, Take heed to yourself that ye go not up to the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever toucheth the mount shall surely be put to death. There shall not a hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through, whether it be beast or man." Okay, now this indicates that the place was holy. There was no creature, there was no imperfect creature that was supposed to get anywhere near it, except the one that Yahweh was dealing with. And it is the same thing now with the temple. It indicates Yahweh's presence, and when Yahweh's presence is there, no one can enter. Okay, now, no one was able to enter the temple till the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were fulfilled. Okay, now, in chapter 16, these plagues are described as 7 vials, or another translation, 7 bowls. I'm going to compare the 2 chapters, chapter 16 and chapter 8. These are the same messages or the same trumpets, but each one of them brings out a little different or a little greater fulfillment. In other words, it brings out more or less all of the effects that these messages will have. Now, chapter 16 states, "And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth." All right now, Yahweh says that in Israel I will be glorified, and that it is Israel that is his battle axe and weapons of war, and that it will be Israel that will bring these messages, will pour this wrath upon the earth. They will actually be, they will not pour it, they will be the spokesman. Yahweh uses men to fulfill the task that must be performed. It is man against man. It is Israel who are men against the Satan's agents, or those who have been deceived, who are also men. And the two have a mental contest, you might say, a spiritual war between them. And Israel comes out victorious. It conquers all the righteous, and they will submit to Israel. In the end, there will be 200 million Israelites, and 1/3 of the earth's population of strangers will join Israel. Israel doesn't care to conquer the wicked because they will never come in anyhow. Yahweh will do away with them. So in any way that you look at it, Israel does conquer. The war has begun, and we find that it has begun with the Lord's people. Yahweh has straightened this house out. He has removed me for a while. He's allowed you to grow up and stand on your own 2 feet. You're all men and women, all of you who are taking part in this are true Israelites. And you will have part in this great testimony that must take place to cleanse Yahweh's organization. Yahweh's organization is now filthy with lies. Yahweh commanded Jeremiah to remove himself from the witnesses, to separate the precious from the vile, the truth from the error. This has now been done. But the organization that he left is becoming uncleaner all the time, more and more unclean. The duty of the prophets will be to correct this. So we must invade their ranks, because they will never come to us. The reason for that is that they are ignorant. The devil has blinded them. They do not realize that we have anything to offer, anything that's beneficial to them. They have been deceived into believing that they are absolutely right and there is nothing else. Well, Israel is going to carry a campaign which will show them that something is wrong with them. The very fact that they cannot face us shows that there's something wrong. When they cannot answer us, there is something wrong. When we have the answers and they go away, there's definitely something wrong. Okay, and this will be, this will be embedded in the minds and hearts of all those who are righteous and thinking. The more blind that they are, the more they depend on their mother, the longer it will take to awaken them. But anyone that's around who is thinking will see it. It has to, because Yahweh has promised it. Now the vials are poured upon the earth. Now the earth represents the visible organization of the devil. Yahweh says he will make a new heavens and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. Okay? A new invisible ruling element and a new visible ruling element. Now the campaign is on the earth. The devil is even on earth. The heavens have been cleansed. So the last portion of the organizations, Yahweh's and the devil's, will have to fight it out on earth. So Yahweh is pouring out his vials of wrath upon the earth, or upon the visible organization of the devil. Now remember, everyone that is not Yahweh's is of the devil. Everyone who is not corrected by Yahweh remains of the devil. So Israel at one time was no different than anyone else, a part of the devil's organization. But the beauty of Israel is that they correct themselves. They see the truth, they're hungering for truth, and they devour it, and it makes tremendous changes in them. They become new creatures. And their hearts are so full of love that and love for their fellow men, that they give this message to others under any conditions, even if they're persecuted, imprisoned, or what have you. This message must be brought forth. Okay, and the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. Okay, now we did say that the earth is the visible organization of the devil, ruling organization. Now, primarily the rulers are the politicians, the kings, the dictators. So here the earth is divided into the major ruling element and begins to dissect, we might say, the portion which actually does rule. This is politics. So the first portion of the message is directed against the politicians, the rulers, the visible rulers of the devil's organization. Now, the reason for this is that Israel is a new nation, and it obeys the rules and decrees of the Almighty God, Yahweh, and they will come in conflict with the rulers, the present rulers of this world. This will build up into a great testimony concerning the right to rule. Who has the right to rule? The politicians of this world or Yahweh's appointed rulers? So the first vial, or the first trumpet, as chapter 8 brings out, is directed against the earth or the politicians. Now, chapter 8 has this to say. Chapter 8, verse 7. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. And they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of the trees were burned up, and all green grass was burned up. Okay, now you see this has a little more information. Okay, now the first, remember, it says, the first went and poured his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. All right, now this indicates that there are many rulers who are aspiring to build a universal organization which will guarantee the peace of the world, so that they can continue to rule without having to give up their positions. Now, this sore that falls upon these men means that the message becomes very painful to them, because we denounce the abomination. We bring out that all efforts of the devil and his agents will come to a complete failure. There is no hope for it. We point out the injustices of the devil system, and we explain the love and the mercy and the justice of Yahweh's system. And this hurts, because when the two are compared, they certainly can see that they are very, very inadequately prepared to cope with Israel. Now, chapter 8 says the third part of the trees was burned up, and all green grass was burned up. Well, the trees represent the lofty ones of the earth. The trees are the biggest of the vegetation, the tallest ones, the outstanding ones of all vegetation. This would picture the outstanding ones, or the lofty ones of the earth, the rulers of this world. Now, when 1/3 of them is burned up, Yahweh is telling you that they are actually 3/3 that make up the devil's ruling element. They are politics, commerce, and religion. 1/3 of them would be the political element. When they are thoroughly exposed, the people will begin to see and understand that this is certainly not a godly system. that there has no righteous foundation whatsoever. It is just a haphazard, hit-or-miss, corrupt, thieving, wicked organization, and the righteous people will have no parts in politics once this is laid bare. Now he says, and all green grass was burned up. Grass pictures the pasture, is pasture, that which the flocks feed upon. This would indicate or would represent the propaganda, that which they feed you. They feed the common flock. This is all burnt up or destroyed. The people will have their eyes open. They will no longer feed on their propaganda. Okay. Now, 16:3, the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, that became as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea. Okay, now we must bear in mind that the three ruling elements of the devil are politics, commerce, and religion. Here the sea represents commerce, because the greatest portion of commerce is conducted on the sea. All right, now when Yahweh's Israel exposes commerce for what it is, that is entirely selfishly motivated. It cares nothing about the good of the people. In fact, its main intention is to bleed them dry so that they can benefit themselves. They will compare this with the beauties of Yahweh's kingdom, where everything will be done for the good of mankind and not for any selfish gain whatsoever, and where the whole world will be absolutely secure, knowing that they have a worldwide insurance policy made up of all the population of the earth. You'll need no insurance of any kind. You'll have nothing to worry about, because all will work together as one man, and all will love one another as they love themselves. So this puts an end to commerce in the eyes of all those who understand. Remember, there will be an awful lot of people coming out. Now, chapter 8, verse 8, it says, the second angel sounded, as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. Okay? Now, a great mountain burning with fire falling into the sea. Could you picture what a tremendous catastrophe or an upheaval that would produce for an entire mountain to fall into the sea, especially if it's burning? Imagine the repercussions, the waves, the steam. It would be enough to destroy everything around a great area. All right. The third part of the sea became blood. Now here Yahweh is likening the entire organization as the whole sea. So 1/3 of the sea becomes blood. Now why does it become blood? Blood indicates pollution. One of the plagues that Yahweh caused Moses to bring upon Egypt was to have the waters turn to blood, so that no one could drink. The waters stank, the Bible brings out. Now, there's nothing going to change in the ocean. But what will change is the attitude of the enlightened people. The people who thought that commerce was the only righteous way to make a living will have their eyes open and see how polluted and corrupt and how filthy and selfish it really is. And they will have nothing to do with it any more than you would have be anywhere around a sea of blood. You keep away from it. (16:4) The third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became blood. Now, rivers and fountains of water, many people drink from rivers and fountains of water. Rivers and fountains. These become blood. Now, Yahweh describes the truth as waters, the waters of life. He says, whoever is athirst, let him take of the waters of life freely. And he makes it very clear that a river of water of life comes from the throne and gives life to the people. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. A pure river of water of life. This means that these waters give you life. Now, Yahshua made clear what does give you life. He says, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. All right? He also says in Revelation 21:6, and he said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. Okay, now these rivers and fountains of water represent the truth. Now, why is the angel going to pour his vial, Yahweh's vial of wrath, upon the truth? Well, he actually does not do that. He pours it upon those who claim to have the truth. He pours it upon those who tell you how you can receive God's blessing. He pours it upon the religionists of this world who have been deceived by the devil and have sidetracked the entire human race into a course that will lead to their death. They have neglected to mention the plan of Yahweh. They don't understand the plan of Yahweh. They do not mention the only solution, which is his kingdom. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all things will be added unto you. This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world as a witness to all nations. Then shall the end come. The kingdom is the main theme. Most religionists cut it short and say, this gospel shall be preached in the whole world as a witness to all nations. Then shall the end come. Gospel, their gospel, not the gospel of the kingdom. But it is the kingdom that must be preached. At any rate, Israel carries this Yahweh's message to the religionists, exposes religion, and the symbolical rivers and fountains of water become blood, so that no one who understands will drink of these waters anymore. Through their understandings, through the eyes that their eyes that have now been opened, they see that they are filthy waters, and they stop going to church, and they feed and drink the words of truth. Now, Verse 10, the third angel sounded, there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and the fountains of waters. Okay, here Yahweh divides, makes every element into three parts, and one-third, which is the religious part, this falls on the rivers and the fountains of waters. And in 11 he says, and the name of the star is called wormwood. Now, wormwood is very, very bitter. This means that no one could taste it and swallow it. They couldn't stand it. It's too bitter. This indicates that the teachings of religion, now that they are exposed, would no longer be craved or desired or accepted. It says, in the third part of waters became wormwood, and many men died with the waters because they were made bitter. Now, this is not a literal death. This means that these people died to the world. They died to religion. They are no longer actively engaged in the religious associations that they conducted before. Now that they know the truth, they make a complete, lasting break. And they are dead to religion, dead to the world, you might say, dead to the satanic world. All right, 65 says, And I heard the angel of the water say, Thou art righteous, O Lord, which art and wast and shalt be, because thou hast judged us. For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. Other translation says, You have given them blood to drink, for they deserve it. Now, Yahweh did not give them the lies. He blames himself because he permits these things to go on. But it's their choice. The devil and the devil's agents have made the religion. Yahweh allows them to drink this blood, or to partake of these filthy waters, because they deserve it. Why do they deserve it? Because they do not make a conscious effort to correct themselves, to do what is right. They are satisfied with this selfish, corrupt system. They are satisfied with religion taking sides, being buddies with the politicians and the big businessmen of this selfish world. They see nothing wrong in this because it must do something for them. And primarily all they're concerned with is themselves anyway. So they do not deserve the righteous or the precious words of truth, and Yahweh allows them to be deceived. And I heard another out of the altar say, Even so, Lord God Almighty, true and righteous are thy judgments. The fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. Okay? Now this brings out that it is as though the sun was actually struck. It's like a fire that is shaken and burns ever so much hotter. The sun is a body, a heavenly body of light. Light is a symbol of understanding, the ability to see, to understand. This means that these men will be fully exposed to the extent where they will be hurt. They will be hurting. The truth hurts. Everybody knows what they stand for. Everyone knows and realizes that these are not honest-hearted, unselfish Christians, devoted public officials. They are selfish, satanic, unrighteous individuals who reject the truth and reject Yahweh when they hear and understand the message. So this is what scorches them. And the eyes of all the righteous will see them for what they are. The righteous hearts will understand these men thoroughly and no longer trust them. And men were scorched with great heat and blasphemed the name of God, which hath power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory. All right, now, this is a result of these three messages. In other words, the result of these three messages is an accumulation of understanding, an accumulation of understanding the wickedness of these men and what they really stand for and how they have deceived the people throughout the ages. And they have gotten their way and caused many a poor individual to suffer